Welcome, everyone, to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, where we're talking about having a fulfilled life after 60 because things really change when you get into the third trimester of your life. You see things a lot differently. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor,
And I'm Chris Jensen.
and we are both very happy that you are here today.
We sure are.
I wanted to talk about something that I hear a lot of people of our generation often mention, but I don't think that they really take it through to the end and really get an answer for what they should do, and that is legacy planning. So if you're a baby boomer and you're thinking about how can I create a legacy that really matters, that's going to have an impact on the people that I love, that are my family and my friends and my children and all of that, this is the conversation for you because I really am going to point out the different aspects of what it means to stop and think, what is a legacy? And what parts of my life would I really want people to know about, the people that I care about? What would be the most important things for me to record and to get them to know? So follow along the conversation just to find out if you've ever had that thought. Maybe I should write a memoir. Maybe I should do something like that for my kids. Follow along because this will give you like an overview of thinking through it on a different levels of what it is that you could actually include in your legacy, and then a little bit about how you can get it done if you decide you actually want to go through and do that. So, just so we have an agreement on what a legacy is, it's not about just saying, I've left financial assets for
Yeah,
my
that's
family,
yeah, yeah.
right? People want to do that, but this is not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about what encompasses your values and your experiences and the wisdom that you've gained over your 60 or 70 years and the impact that that's going to leave on the others who follow you. Like think about your past generation, your mom and the people that were her parents and the people before that and the ancestry that they brought with them. The shoulders that you were standing on your whole life were because of these people that came before you. So you think about what is it that I'm going to leave my children? Well, let's talk about what it means to really have a meaningful legacy that reflects your life's journey and the things that you really value. So,
It's interesting, this topic you're bringing up, because I was thinking recently
thought
about
you,
it, not thinking of it as a legacy, but just thinking there's spiritual things that I would like to impart, you know?
you
And
know,
so
not that we haven't been doing that our whole lives, but it's kind of like, well, if I got one last chance to do this,
but it's different, when you think of it as, what do I want, what gift do I want to give them to that they can hold on to that will make a difference to them.
yeah. And it's such
And
an interesting process to go through because you really look at how much you have done in this lifetime and then what are the highlights? What are the most important things that I'm taking away from this myself? Because that's what you're going to want to pass along. Actually, this not this first section, but this section, I talk about spiritual legacy. So you're going to have some interesting insights there, I'm sure. So I'm going to just talk about what goes into like a personal legacy, and then Chris and I will share from our own points of view what would be personal for us that we might want to pass along. And then we'll do that for the next couple of issues and we'll go from there. So, personal legacy includes things like sharing your life journey, your personal stories, your experiences, what you know about your ancestry, the things that you value, your beliefs, and including the cultural context in which you were raised that actually shaped you. You can talk about your significant life challenges and how you overcame them. You can talk about memories of important relationships and achievements that you actually had. You can talk about your unique skills, what made you personally unique and authentic, and what were your expertise, and what were your creative contributions, and what were the things that you did that had to do with service, like chronicling your community service and your social impact. So, of those few things that I said, Chris, what would you say, and I'll go after you, are the personal things that you would like to relate to your family?
I think the thing I want to relate is that, most of my life there was something I was looking for. And, first I found it in being politically involved, and I don't mean the formal political parties. I mean when I was young, and I'm a boomer, so you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It was during the protest era. And there was me, I felt like I was doing something for humanity then, but then I found my way to a spiritual path.
Hmm.
And on every level, that's made a big difference. And I would like to share that with them, that not just that it's done it for me, but what it could do for them, if they
I,
are.
I love, can I ask about that? Because I love what you just said. And I've always known about in generically your past as a more of an activist kind of person,
Mhm.
very, very active. Not
Very
like
active.
I
Yeah.
haven't done that, very active. One of those people, you're probably out on the street in spirit right now with everybody that's out there protesting. But how has your view of being that kind of activist, like being out in the street and, you know, um, joining in this communal kind of protest, how has that changed now that you've spent as much time as you have as a spiritual person?
Well, it's changed in that I put my energy more into spiritual growth
Right,
and doing what I can to help other people have spiritual growth so
right,
that they can care about others.
right.
But I still have that part of me
I
that
know.
you can't just sit here. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And you and I did go in
Yep.
2017, we did go.
Yeah, we were with Z. I remember that. We
Yeah,
went to
with my daughter. And she was very excited because she knew that I had
yeah,
done a lot of
right. Yeah.
civil rights protesting and that kind of thing. And so she was very excited to share that with you and I.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was a very special day for her. So, uh,
It's an interesting path of growth because I've watched how you pass along that spirit of um, strength and courage and standing up for yourself in your girl because she's a prosecuting attorney in the district of LA. Like it doesn't get any tougher, right? She's tough as
right,
nails.
right, yeah.
Um, and she's like me, a Libra. She's 100% on the side of justice and equal rights and
Sure.
human rights and all of that kind of stuff. And it's so interesting to see the spiritual involvement because, yeah, there's a part of us that has the wisdom to know that the work that we're doing and helping people be more spiritual and finding their inner self is giving them a path to to express spirit through these really difficult times, so these really tough times, which is really critical. But there's also times when I think I need to hit the streets, and you're like the first person I think I'm going to call. Like, get your signs out. We're ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah.
It could happen yet.
It
Okay.
could.
All right. So we're not going to go down that road or we're going to, get caught in a rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
sure could.
Okay.
Sure could.
All right. So I need to respond too. So personally, what I would like to share to my family would be the journey that I came from as a child, the tough, difficult situations that I was in, the challenges that I faced, and how I grew in the process of becoming who I am today, and why I made the choices and commitments to the path that I took. I basically eschewed everything but my relationship to spirit. My growth in the spiritual world was everything to me. And there's times when I look back and I go, boy, there was a lot of stuff I missed along the way. I could have been traveling and I could have been doing all kinds of stuff, but nothing was more important to me. The yearning was great. And trying to express that, even to my children the other day, we were talking, we had a coffee chat. We call it, we go to Starbucks and just gab. And, they were asking me, like, why do I do the things I do? Well, I often can't put words to it. I have to just say, because I was called to. There was a yearning there. I was answering a calling, and all I can say is, the time flew by, and here I am today, and I don't have any regrets. Like, again, you could look at my life and say, why did you do this and this and this and this? Because I was busy doing this.
We chose a path,
We chose a path, and
And
that's the story that I would like to tell, So that kind of segues us into the spiritual legacy. This is where we might get caught
right.
bogged down. So,
Let me just tell you a little funny story about my grandmother.
oh,
Uh,
good.
so she told me, and I was, I don't know, my early 20s, and she said, I really want you to write my life story. I want to tell you all my stories
Oh
because she
my,
said, I don't want to tell them to my kids, which is my mother's generation,
right.
because they watch too much television. It makes them stupid. And
What'd she do if she saw it now? Oh my
yeah,
God.
but she knew that I didn't care to watch television.
Did you ever do that?
No, we never
You
did.
never got to it.
She told me a few stories, but we never really got a chance to do that.
Yeah, so this is why it's such an interesting subject, the idea of leaving a
Because
legacy. I think there's no person on the planet that hasn't had this thought at some point.
I
So, okay.
regret that we didn't take the time and sit down and do it,
No, I know.
you
I know.
know?
It's weird the things that get by us.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so next one, spiritual legacy. This is about it really is kind of a guide for the future generations. What it is that you feel like your personal spiritual journey was all about and the transformational experiences you had during those years. And for Chris and I, this is everything because we've been on the spiritual journey for her over 50 years, me 45. So it's about your values, it's about your characters, your principles, the things that guided your decisions. Like I was talking about why I chose the path that I did. The yearning that I had in my heart was had to be answered, And then again, the rituals that you do, the meditation techniques and prayer practices, and the technique that you use to find inner peace and emotional resistance. These feel like the little nuggets that you want to leave people because they might be really beneficial, which is why we do podcasts and why we, teach yoga, but also perspectives on things like compassion and consciousness and the purpose in life, which is a big one that people really struggle with. And really the stories that are profoundly expressing what the spiritual insights and growth have been and how our faith and beliefs have inspired us and uplifted us, during this time. So you go first. This is a
Well,
big one.
yeah, it's a big story. And I think, what I want to impart is that, uh, life is full of stresses. Life is full of things that pull you in different directions.
Yeah,
And the only thing that makes a difference is if you can find your spiritual center.
yeah,
If you can find that, then no matter what's happening around you, you don't get sucked in. And maybe you do get sucked in sometimes, but you get out of it pretty fast.
yeah.
I remember, I'm not sure which great yogi it was that said, um, oh, yeah, it was somebody out of India. And someone he said to him, he was teaching, and some guy said to him, your teachings have done nothing but hurt people. And, he was telling him all these awful things. And the yogi didn't have any reaction. And the guy said, don't you understand my insults? And he said, yes, I do. And he said, but I don't accept them. You can keep them.
I like that.
And
Bounce
so,
right off.
yeah. And so that's a kind of thing that is very transformative, whether you have the spiritual goal of living in a state of higher consciousness, of being enlightened or whatever, or not, having that spiritual center makes all the difference in every day of your life.
Every day of your life. That is so cool. That's beautifully said. The thing that I want to emphasize about that is most people, when you say quality of life to them, they think health, a lot
Hmm.
of physical health. Guess what? Your emotional health is much more valuable. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
your emotional, mental well-being is the thing that will keep you going consistently on a path for years and years and years in a way that you, like you said, whenever the poo is flung, you learn to deke your way out of it. You learn to, get
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah.
You learn to deal with it. You learn to let go of it. You learn to shed, just drop whatever is going on in the mental sphere that is not of use. And so that becomes what people call wisdom. like, oh, that person's wise. They don't get caught up in the nonsense. I think of it as emotional well-being. When I get caught up in the nonsense, I know how to get back to my center. So that is, I'm with you in terms of wanting to be able to understand, have my loved ones understand that, but also because I've had a near-death experience. This was such a huge part of my life, and I think they wonder, if it made me kind of like kind of odd in ways that other people are not. Because there's oftentimes in my life where I can't explain when they ask me questions, maybe about the other side or questions about how something works. And I don't really have words for it sometimes. And I've had to accept that, since that experience, there are going to be times when I just won't have words. There are no words for how, being on the other side and experiencing it the way I did. So that's one of the things that made me write a book in 2015, was to try to get it out and get it on paper and see if it made any sense. Well, it made sense to me, but it wasn't really of much interest to anybody else. So it's something that I think I would like to really record and get down what is important, ask spirit really what's important about this experience that other people need to know, especially my loved ones. So that's
Yeah.
one of the big
Yeah.
legacies for me.
That's a great legacy. My husband's mother, few years ago, she's 98 now, but she was 93. She was in the hospital, and she had a near-death experience. And when she came back, she told us, she told Jeff and I, she didn't tell because her other kids wouldn't accept it. So she told us what happened. She's talked about how peaceful it was, and she
Mhm.
saw herself in her desk and how meaningless all that was. And
Yeah.
and and she said she didn't want to come back, but she knew she had to.
Yeah.
But my point about this story is that it was so beautiful, and yet like a month or two, for a while she really knew what it was, but a couple months later, the rest of the family had convinced her that she was hallucinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's eventually you just accept it because they cannot understand.
They can't
If
understand it.
they if they think you're hallucinating, okay, I'm having a good time, just
Right, right. She had the wherewithal when it first happened to just to tell us,
yeah,
because she
yep,
knew we could accept it. And then she talked to one doctor about it. One doctor came in when we were there,
yeah,
and we asked him, and he said, I have a lot of patients who've told me things like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You do look for validation just so you think, yeah, I'm not really crazy here, but
Right, yeah, yeah.
you
But
never
they
you
did
never
they
really
did
get it.
convince, yeah, they did convince her after a while that she was hallucinating.
Yeah. But the upside of what you're saying, and I'm sure your mother-in-law has experienced this, is that there is a peace and an understanding and an acceptance that you carry with you that you it's very hard to explain. It's something that I would like to leave as a legacy to try to explain, but you just know that every day is a gift and you live it like it's a gift. And so there's a quality of your life that is if somebody is like caught up in their day-to-day experience, and all the challenges, they're grabbing, reaching, growing, struggling, handling all this stuff all the time, just like swatting down the flies,
Mhm.
can't possibly see what's on the other side of the river. They can't possibly see the flow. They can't possibly, every once in a while, they might be able to, if they pay attention and meditate or be mindful, they can tune into that flow. And, oh, isn't that good? Like someday I'm going to understand how to be there. But after a near death, you just live there. You just know that, okay, one day I'm not going to be there here, and it's okay.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
know where I'm going. And don't talk to anybody about that because they'll definitely think you're nuts. So okay, so here we go. There's some other parts. I don't know how much of this I actually want to get into, but let's see if we'll get through this next part, and then I'll talk about how you can, if you're interested in doing this for yourself, what are some of the options. But the other one I put down was the creative legacy. So if you've had a life as an artist or someone just artistic, writer, whatever art it might be, some of the things that you might want to leave are what was my creative process? How did I learn to be an artist? What were my preferred methods? What were my sources of inspiration and my artistic influences? And what is the impact of my art on other people that you've experienced over your lifetime of this creative endeavors? Who inspired you, and how do you inspire others? And why did you follow this artistic path? What was so important about it for you? So, you talk about that evolution of your craft and how you mastered it and what it meant to you in your life. How did you grow from it? What was it all about for you? And what was the cultural context of your creative work?
Yeah.
So that's what a creative legacy is all
That's
about.
a great thing. And also, I think part of a creative legacy is sharing how do you get out of the box? You know,
How do you be different?
how do you be different and know that
Yeah.
it's okay
Yeah.
and just let yourself go with it? We get intuitive insights and so often it gets squished.
Right.
And, it's different.
So what you're referring to is what I was going to say about what my creative legacy would be, and that is how to be authentic. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be who you are. And
Yeah.
that's as creative as it gets.
Yep.
Because you were created, in an image. And if you're living authentically, you are in touch with that creation at all time. And to be able to tell the stories of what that has meant and how it has shapeshifted through your life. Wow, that's exciting. It's really, really exciting. You know,
Yeah.
you're really able to like transfer skills. You can tell younger family members about the things that were most important to you. Like, I don't know, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's fixing homes, maybe it's who knows,
Sounds like.
art, financial, doesn't matter, whatever it is that's you. Why was it so important to you?
Yeah.
Like, what are the life skills that you want,
But
that you
but it is,
learned that you want them to have?
yeah, what's really in your heart that you want to do, not what other people think you should do. Even if you have a great talent in some area,
Yes,
maybe you don't
yes.
want to do it. Like the girl that cuts my hair, she was telling me about her daughter who is in high school. She's, I guess, a junior. She's going to be a senior in the fall. And she plays softball, and these scouts came out and they wanted to watch her. And all of a sudden, her daughter said, I'm not playing softball anymore. And, fortunately, Regina said, okay, if that's what you want, because you could get a full scholarship here, but
Mhm.
she didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, that was it, the pivot.
It wasn't in her heart. Once
Yeah.
she knew, and that became so real.
Yes, yes. And
And
that's so important when you're guiding and parenting people, is to watch for those moments when it's
yeah,
time to pivot. It's time
yeah,
to go a different way. It's okay. Don't hold yourself back.
yeah.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Go with what's calling you inside.
Really important. Okay, so how about creating a philanthropic impact? What were the things that you did that they aligned with your values in a way you wanted to be able to give services to other people? What were the charitable things you did, the community services, creating foundations, scholarships, whatever it was? That's your philanthropic legacy. What was it that gave meaning to your life that you said, oh, I'm going to go out and give this to other people because it's so valuable? For
I
us, it's yoga.
I think that's so important to
Yeah,
pass on.
absolutely. That's what we did. And we're still doing it. So there
We
you
are,
go.
yeah.
Okay, so all right, so we're just going to spend a little time. I'm going to give you some really fun ideas about how you can get this done, because typically when people think, "Oh, I'm going to leave a legacy," the first thing you think is, "I'm going to write a memoir." And this is a hard road to go down when you say you're going to write a memoir, because you got to be a writer. And if you go down that road, you could be years in the making and figure out that you don't even like writing, so really, it's not just the only way to do it. Listen in, these are really some interesting ideas about how to preserve your records and how to get your history and your life down. So one of the ways is you can do audio or video recordings, right? And just literally sitting down, sharing your life experiences. And I'm going to tell this one, hopefully I don't cry. My son said to me just a while ago, Mom, will you please record yourself just talking about anything. So when you're gone, I can see you on video and I can hear your voice. because you have that fear of I will never hear them again, I'll never see them again, and
Yeah.
we're in a digital age. We can leave love notes for our people, like every year, pop a video in and say, hey, how's it going? This is you. I got thinking about, what if I wrote Chris a letter for at the end of every year if I wasn't here, like say I'm gone when I'm 80 or whatever, and he's 50, and after that I write or release some kind of video every year. How's it going? What's happening? Remember when I was that age? This is what's going on, like
Yeah,
what
sure. That's so
wouldn't
sweet.
that be special?
So awesome. That'd be
It,
so
it would be special. It would be special. And the other way to do that, of course, is to write journals. Like my kid gave me a blank journal for Christmas, and I just looked at him like, I'm not going to write in this sucker because I've always had this like phobia of people who are going to read my thoughts. So I don't write them. But if I do, I write it down and I rip it up. He's like, Mom, it costs $5, right? Write it down and rip it up if you want.
But the thing is that for a lot of people, the idea of writing it down is an almost task, you know.
Yes, it is a
Whereas recording, you can just even pretend the recording's not on. You're just like talking to a friend. You know?
You can, but you and I are more comfortable on camera now because we've been doing what we're doing. Some people only can do audios. Do whatever you're
Audio
comfortable.
is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
don't
just,
force yourself if you don't like sitting in front of a camera, except your kids want to see you.
but even so, you could just put the audio on your phone, just,
Yeah,
record on your phone, and at least they'll have that, you know.
yep. So what, okay, I gotta speed it up here so I can keep my time comfortable because my battery on my computer is dying. That's the truth. So Um, you can also like take family photos and digitize them and annotate stories to them. I mean, think about the family photos that if we pulled out like our memory, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
photos, you go, that was when my mom was this and this and this was going on. What if you could like tell a little story under each of those photos and they could hear your voice explaining what was going on in this photo and hear, the emotion in it and the story behind it. That would be so much fun. You can do kind of the same thing for family trees, like, have your ancestral, do in ancestor.com, I think it is. You go in and get your whole generational tree, and then you can do the history of who are all these characters. If my parents had done that for me, that would be so fascinating to me. Who my grandparents actually were, where they lived, what was going on in their lives, who were their parents. That would be utterly fascinating to me. So that's another thing you can do. All of these things take time and energy, but you have to kind of decide what's most important to you in terms of what you want to leave your legacy. So write journals, write a memoir, do your auto video recording. There's a service called Storyworth, WORTH. They will help you put together a keepsake book with
Oh,
pictures and audios and stuff like that, digital, very beautiful. There's
cool.
another online service called Family Tree Video, and they will help you put together. They'll film interviews and use family photos and other, pieces from your past and weave this whole story together that, people from the next generation coming up can sit and learn about who you were and what you did with your life. Um,
Awesome.
I
What,
know, right? I
what a
mean, there's
gift. What a gift. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It takes time, but it's so worth it because they get all these beautiful memories to know who you were. I'd love to have those with my family, and I barely have photos.
Mhm.
There's another site called Story, Storii, and it uses artificial intelligence to really pull together recordings of all your family stories through phone calls
Oh, wow. Wow.
with curated prompts. So it guides the storytelling process that way. So that's so unique and new. So that's really one to take a look at. Um, okay, so there's more, but you get the picture. This could be a really exciting venture. And what are you okay? You need a drink?
Thank you.
Um, go ahead. What's exciting about it is that you're not just doing this for yourself while you're going through this process of creating this legacy, you can bring your family into this situation, you know? You can have them sit down and have conversations with you. You can have them watch you do the videos and the recordings. You can talk to them about what is it that you really want to know, you know? You can have conversations with your family that you can record. It can become like a family event, a family project, you know? Like a little mission between all of you to record who you are and what you love about life, you know? And it can be a really joining, you know, project that brings you together, that connects you, you know, like instead of playing Dungeons and Dragons or, you know, playing games on your phone or whatever it is that you're doing. This is such a beautiful way to bring everybody together intergenerationally and
Mm.
be able to tell a story. Really, really gorgeous. So think about that. Think about, you know, how
Great
important it
gift. It's
is
so inspiring.
create a meaningful legacy. You know, it takes thought, it takes planning, takes engaging, you know, with your people, but don't wait until it's too late, you know, get
Right. Do it now.
it, you know. It's not just about you. It's really about that positive impact that you're leaving on them, on the people that you love, you know.
Mhm.
So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave you some ideas, and I
Give
hope
me
you go with
ideas,
your
right?
legacy. I know. We're going to be
Start
talking about
today.
what we're going to do for sure. All right. Well, I hope it was fun. See you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Good.
Take care.
Bye.